ideas were wildly radical, using space-age technology to create a totally new kind of architecture. It was about making the impossible possible.
They believed in disposable architecture, temporary buildings with a limited lifespan, as throwaway as a paper cup.
In response, Archigram designed a new kind of prefabricated home. Here's one they made earlier.
The thing I like best about this kitchen is that it makes washing up unnecessary. You cook with aluminium foil. The plates are disposable too. The cutlery is also disposable, and you drink from plastic cups and beakers.
The group took the idea of throwaway architecture one step further with a trippy project called Plug-in City.
They had these wonderful titles like the Plug-in City.
The city should be capable of forming and reforming day by day, week by week, year by year, as events and purposes change.
Plug-in City is an idea for extending the existing cities with a big structure of diagonal tubes, some which have lifts in, some which have supplies in them.
Archigram's City of the Future is a city of components on racks, components in stacks, components plugged into networks and grids.
And then you plug the housing in, which is a series of steel or plastic capsules.
Permanent cranes lift goods, homes, shops and other components in and out of the system.
So the city was a kind of seething organism which could be added to and bits taken off and moved all the time, like a kind of great amoeba.
Unlike other 60s radicals, Archigram didn't want to flatten cities and start again. They wanted to reinvent them in an attempt to make life more fun.
Oxford Street is the busiest shopping street in the whole of Britain. In rush hour, it's a nightmare. Archigram proposed to get rid of the buses and cars and grass the whole thing over.
Shops and stores would spill out onto the grass. Screens would flash up the best buys of the day. Shopping would have been infinitely less stressful. In 1970, amazingly, Archigram almost got to build something.
Now, Monte Carlo was a competition that we won on a piece of reclaimed land in Monte Carlo. And we conceived it as a secret room, really. In fact, we were inspired by television studios. We said, right, we will invent a lot of gear that can be moved around, movable seats and toilets and stages and lighting and the whole thing. And the producer of the show will be the architect.
I don't think there was any remote kind of feeling that these things would be built.
And then Prince pulled the plug on it, got bored with it or something. That was it.
In 1974, like all the best bands, the group split, most of them moving into teaching.
Despite the fact they never built anything, Archigram were massively influential, and today many of their outlandish ideas have become reality.
Archigram's influence can be seen in high-tech buildings like Richard Rogers' Pompidou Centre and the Lloyd's Building.
Stylistically, there are similarities, but the real influence lies in the ideas behind the building.
Lloyd's incorporates Archigram's love of adaptability. The bits of the building which are likely to need updating, like the service ducts, power plants and lifts, are on the outside. That means they can be replaced more easily. You can also see the Archigram style in new buildings. ING House in Amsterdam looks like Archigram's walking city, a building designed with robotic legs, so it could uproot itself and go for a stroll.
Although the building doesn't physically move, everything about it suggests that it might.
The legs carry it above the motorway and face the traffic flow, giving a feeling of movement.
Archigram put the fun into functionalism, and there was a playfulness in everything they did.
This is reflected in the work of British architects FAT, who've designed an Amsterdam ad agency that turns the office into a playground.
What we've built there are really some very small buildings or some very large bits of furniture which sit inside this existing church. The idea of plucking things from one environment and placing them somewhere else.
Almost plug-ins.
Yeah, and that kind of absurdity, that kind of surrealism, I suppose. Very few exciting things have happened in architecture since Archigram. They're an example to all us architects of a reminder, or a kind of conscience, in a way, of why we should keep on thinking about, you know, what it is that architecture should be and what it should do.
Archigram might not have built anything, but they changed the face of modern architecture. They believed the impossible was possible, and that legacy lives on in the thousands of students they taught and the remarkable buildings their ideas inspired.
Barcelona's got the weekend breakers, Madrid's got the Beckhams, but now Spain's got a new capital of style, Valencia. What's really got the world's attention is the new City of Arts and Sciences.
This themed city within a city is a kind of futuristic fantasy land. You dose up on science and culture as you gaze upon these fantastic buildings.
They include an IMAX cinema, planetarium, a laser light show, and a high-tech science museum. Soon to be unveiled is a new opera house, which to me looks like an American football. They're the distinctive work of one of Valencia's most famous sons, architect Santiago Calatrava. I'm in a bit of a minority because I don't really think his interiors work as spaces, but as objects, his buildings certainly have impact.
What you have are these extraordinary structures which look like creatures which are surfacing from the sea or landing from the sky. It's a kind of bravado architecture which you have to take your hat off to because it's done so well and done with such style.
When it's finished, the Opera House will have 3 theatres seating over 3,000 people. The complex also includes an oceanarium, swimming in the graceful curves of another Spaniard, the late Felix Candela. But the City of Arts and Sciences is just one dish in a feast of design tapas. It's at the bottom of a bizarre 5-mile trench that runs right through the city. It used to be the River Turia, but had an annoying habit of flooding its banks, so the locals diverted it out of town. It's now the city's green lung of sunken gardens, dotted with brilliant buildings and bridges. If this bridge looks familiar, that's because it's by Calatrava again. Now this I love.
It also has the trademark feeling of Calatrava's work. It looks like a giant rib cage which has been placed in the city. You think that they're fantastic fossil bones which have just been sort of propped, curving across the span of what was this river.
Bridges are what Calatrava is best at and what's rightly made him famous. He's built them everywhere, from Seville to Salford. This one leads to an underground station designed by guess who? Calatrava. You can't get away from this guy. Valencia does boast buildings by some other big-name architects. Norman Foster built this ice-cool glass conference centre. It's a welcome escape from the scorching Valencia sun. And Columbus Market proves that Barcelona doesn't have a monopoly on the modernista style that Gaudi's famous for. The market has recently been restored and stylishly made over for the 21st century. There's definitely a buzz about Valencia right now, in the people as well as the buildings.
I mean, you're a Valencia-born architect.
Yeah.
How does it feel like being in the city now?
Oh yeah, I love it, to be honest. I love it because Valencia has got the power now, to be honest. It's got the power, and they're investing a lot of money. So it's getting very, very trendy. It's attracting a lot of people coming from abroad. I would say that time for Valencia is come.
Valencia